Hey artists, welcome to another video. Today I'm painting another eye, today a Black Panther eye. Well, I kind of wanted to talk about my little bit of a love-hate relationship with oil paint. Okay, let's be real, the scale is far more on the love side than the hate side, but it's not all roses. So here's what I love about oil paint, and still a few things that kind of make me want to scream into the void. Maybe you can relate with these, but yeah, let's start talking while we get painting. Oh, real quick before we dive in, if you ever get stuck painting fur and can't figure out why it's not looking right and it's just a nonstop struggle, I made something for you. I made a free guide called The Fur Fix, and it's going to walk you through my 5 keys to painting more realistic animal fur. So when you're ready, you can grab it in the link in the description. So a bit about the painting here before we, take a deep dive into the relationship with oils. I'm painting this eye here with oil paint. Now what makes this a little bit different is I actually started the iris of the eye with a base of faux silver leaf. And the reason why I did this is because I wanted to build up nice transparent layers of color on top. And basically, the light is going to be passing through those transparent layers and bouncing back off that metallic surface. And it's going to give a beautiful, luminous quality to those eyes. I love this technique. So yeah, that's kind of what we're doing here. And then I'm starting to build up the rest of my painting with oils. Okay, so let's kind of talk about those beloved oil paints. So I used to exclusively work with acrylic paint years ago. And over time, I found that there was just a couple of things that I wasn't super thrilled with. And I realized that with the additions of certain mediums I was using and also different techniques, I was basically trying to make my acrylics work like oil paint. And I had never actually tried oil paint before that because it seemed scary. It seemed like what the super big professional artists were using or the old masters. It seemed like it was going to be a nightmare for cleanup and take years to dry and all that stuff. Maybe you kind of heard the same stuff and it kept, you from using oil paint for a while. But I decided to, just take a chance. I bought myself a really small basic oil painting kit. And basically what I did is I had a painting that I was working on with acrylics. I was just not really feeling it anymore. So I thought to myself, okay, you know what? Let's try adding this next layer with oils. And I'm not exaggerating when I say it completely changed the game for me, because after that moment, I switched entirely to oil paint and have not looked back since. And I am so much happier for it. Yes, there are some quirks to oil paint that you just simply have to adapt to, but once you do, they're so good. The first thing that really grabbed me with those oils was just the richness and the butteriness of that paint. There's a certain depth to it that I just was never able to achieve with acrylics, even just the way it felt like when you were working with it. And then there was the blending. So that was my biggest gripe with acrylics, is I was just always struggling against how quickly they would dry. So I was using what felt like buckets of slow drying mediums. I always had a super fine mist spray bottle with water where I was constantly misting the surface of my painting to just try to keep it wet a little bit longer. And even then, trying to be able to blend stuff in time and layer things properly, it was just a struggle. But with oils, oh, beautiful. So blendable, so gorgeous. I just completely fell in love with it. The other thing that completely captivated me, and again, kind of follows along the lines of it being that slower drying medium, is when you get the opportunity to do some strategic blending, you get these gorgeous organic brushstrokes that I've never really been able to replicate with acrylics. And I just completely fell in love with that. Not only was I loving the way things looked, I loved the way it felt while I was painting. There was a flow to things, a certain organic flow that I was just never able to replicate before with acrylics. And yeah, once I tried them for the first time, I knew there was no going back. Now, I know I can talk about how much I love oil paints forever, but let's be real. everything also has its downsides and struggles, and there's just, certain things that you just have to get used to. And one of those not fun parts, just a bit of a double-edged sword here, is actually that drying time. Whereas I loved that I had an extended drying time compared to my acrylics, there's some times where you just wish your oils can dry faster. And there's certain colors that you come to learn that dry way more slowly than any other ones, and you just have to work around it. There's certain mediums that you can use, which I'm extremely thankful for because they make a huge difference in the drying time. So rather than, having acrylics where your paints dry out of control within, minutes sometimes, versus, full fat oil paint that can dry in potentially months, using mediums, you can really shift that balance so that you have something that potentially dries in a couple of days or a week rather than those super extended timelines. It also gives you an opportunity to kind of work on multiple pieces at once. So that's one of the major shifts that I've made when I moved to oils, is that because the reality of oil paint is that sometimes you just have to let layers dry. Especially since I don't really work a la prima or wet into wet, one layer. I like to work in layers in my paintings. I love to use the glazing technique. And in order to use these techniques, you need to be able to let your paintings dry completely. So there have been times where I'm only really working on one piece and then I have to let it dry. I'm like twiddling my thumbs. I'm bored. I don't have anything to work on. So now in my home studio practice here, I always have multiple pieces on the go. And I love this because it allows you to shift when you kind of get bored or things are getting a little stagnant. And you always have something new that you're going to be able to switch to when you're letting something dry. So yeah, oil painting isn't always the most convenient medium. It's slow, it can be a little messy, and honestly kind of has a mind of its own. It's a little moody, but I love it. It fits the way that I work and also the way that I think about painting. It kind of lets me slow down and really get in the zone and just build up something that feels more alive. So maybe you're thinking to yourself, ooh, okay, I love the way this sounds, and maybe you are tempted to also try oils. If you're just getting started, don't stress if it feels hard. That's normal. Trying anything new is hard, but that's because it's worth learning. So let me know in the comments if you've ever tried oil paint or if you've ever wanted to. I'm always curious how other people experience them and if they love them as much as I do. Alrighty, well, that brings us to the end of this video. Don't forget to go download that free guide that I made for you, the Fur Fix. It's going to be a total game changer for helping you to paint more realistic animal fur. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.